This incredible woman had a $70,000 cash month in May, and I am so excited to share her magic with you all. Many of you, maybe you know her, you follow her on Instagram. If you don't know her, you're gonna get to know her today. This incredible woman, she had a $70,000 month in May, and I'm so excited to bring her up. I want you to just, hey Val, Chloe, everybody coming on, I want you to really just be present, listen to what she's saying, the mindset shifts that she's had, and we're going to just have an amazing time. So I'm bringing up Courtney. Let me just introduce her before I bring her up. So Courtney, this woman, I think we got connected around like this time last year-ish, and I was living in Mexico at the time, and she sent me a DM on Instagram, and I have to go back and find that first message, but it was like love at first DM vibes. You know, those clients that you just talk with and you know, I can help you. Like you're just like, I know you, I can help you go to this next level. This is what happened with this particular person. So she sent me a message on Instagram, and it was a yes. She joined the mastermind. She's like, I want to have a 100K sales month, 50K cash month. She did that within like 4 months, and she just had a $70,000 cash month. And I want her to break this down for you all. So let me bring her up and welcome everybody to the live. Let's get Courtney up. Accept.
Why was I like, so, oh wow, this filter is a little too much. There we go.
I love it.
Oh my God.
Welcome.
I was like so nervous when you were introducing. I was like, who, me?
Yes, you. Everybody in the chat, if you know Courtney, say hello. She's a queen. But Courtney, I just want to like spend 20-ish minutes together. Hey, Lorna's here. I want to spend this time really just celebrating you. And this is just like a you and me time too, like anchoring in what were some of the shifts that happened. Hey, Shayna, what were some of the things that have shifted for you over the last month? And so first, do you want to just introduce yourself to my audience so they know who you are?
Yeah. Also, there's construction going on in my condo building. So if you hear hammering, that's why. But
Okay.
yeah, someone above is doing construction. But yeah, so I've been in entrepreneurship for, God, I think it's like 11 or 12 years. I've actually never been an employee. It's just always like been in my blood to just beat to my own drum. I don't like follow the rules of like what other people like to do. And after being in, a personal trainer for 8.5 years, I just fell in love with content creation and business and marketing, and like community's always just been such a big thing. So I started this business in 2021, August actually. So we're coming up on 3 years, which sounds crazy, but everything that I do is, we help women make money online and launch and sell their offers. But like at the root of it, it's really just helping women make FU money, breaking that generational trauma of what it means to be a woman, to be successful. And as cheesy as it sounds, it's like really just being like who the F you are, like being authentic, like sharing that with the world. And the way that we do that is through our content and how we sell and your offers, regardless of the industry or the niche that you're in. So in a nutshell, and the TikTok queen, I'll claim that because I know a lot of people know me from TikTok.
Okay. I know, you're famous. I love it.
So
So
crazy.
what, like, before this, with 70K cash month that you just had, which is like huge. First of all, how do you feel?
I still have moments where it's like both. It's moments like, oh my God, we did it. But at the same time, I'm like, of course we did, because I've always just been someone
Yeah.
that shows up and shows up and shows up. And I even had someone say to me a few days ago, like, you're blowing up. And she's like, I know it's because you're not doing anything differently, but because you're doing the same thing. And I've really just mastered, like, do the same thing, do this. And of course, we've refined and we've tweaked, but it's been the same actions since I started day one, 0 followers, 0 clients, $0. And it's just been rain or shine, good day, bad day, people buying. It's just like we go, because I've always really just been focused on the long term. It's not what are we doing this month? It's like, where are we going for the next 45 years? Like, it's always been that long term for me.
Yeah, to me, you've always had this grander vision than what most people have. So
Yeah.
a little problem comes up, you know, you plug in or you work on it, like, but you still keep leaning in. You still keep, I mean, you just re-signed. This is our third round. I can't even believe this is our third round. It literally feels like we're just getting
I
started. I'm like,
know.
we're just scratching the surface. And this is your third round of the mastermind.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's, to me, I've always known that about you. And that's why when you messaged me on Instagram, I was like, oh, yes, we are a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I know you can go above and beyond and you're just going to keep growing. So, what would you say?
Mhm.
Let's do from a strategy sense. What has been the biggest shift in the month of May that
Yeah.
maybe did you change something? I know what it is behind the scenes, but like just talk about like the audience. Like what was it for you strategy wise that made this jump from 50K to 70K?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing was definitely selling more. And I know that sounds so simple, but really just opening the doors and opening the channels on how people could buy from me. It wasn't just the month of May was only one offer and you couldn't buy anything else. It was like, you can buy this and you can buy that. And oh, you want this pie? Like, here we go.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was selling more. And then I love doing big launch events. So I brought that back to my audience. So last summer, I did a 2 month event inside my membership. And for the month of May, I brought it back again, but we did it even bigger and even better. So it was
Yeah.
also kind of like strategically, but also like energetically, was just going back to my roots. Like, what does Courtney do that nobody else does? Like, it doesn't have to look like her or this. People are like, wait, what's Imagine Land? Like, what are you doing? And it was just like, it didn't matter. I was just like having so much fun behind the scenes of like what I was planning. But I stopped closing the doors to sales. It was like everybody could buy everything from me. And then like I think I always have done this, and you definitely taught me this too, is just keep everything simple. It doesn't need a crazy fancy funnel. It's just like just sell. Just sell. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was definitely selling more. Really leaning into, I feel like we always do this of just speaking even more. I saw your video TikTok or your Instagram story before we got on about like your messaging, like who are you actually speaking to?
Yeah.
I'm not selling, a 6 week program on how to do X. Like, I'm selling women on their vision. I'm selling women on what they really want and where they're going, and that always calls in women really quick, but also the right women that are coming into containers. And people, I don't want to like toot my own horn, but a lot of clients just resign and resign and resign and resign. And I've always focused from like a like a client experience perspective is like over deliver, under promise. I don't just show up in a container and just give what's expected. I'm like, we're going above and beyond. So that's always been
Yeah.
something where clients have been with me for like 9 months and beyond, because it's not just, here's the strategy, okay, bye. It's we're really unpacking so much deeper with them.
Yes, and that's what makes your work feel different.
Yeah.
It has a different resonance. It has like an essence to it. We talk a lot about this. It feels like a masterpiece, whereas maybe other people are creating courses, businesses, programs that are, I'm a coach, sell the thing, deliver the
Yeah.
thing. But you create this strategy that's so different than other people. And I think that was one of the biggest things in May. It was like blinders
Yeah.
up. Doesn't matter what other people are doing. Let's just focus on Courtney, what you want to bring forward. And then as a result of that, you end up attracting so many people. So from a mindset thing, what was the thing that opened the floodgates there, or energetics or that type
Yeah.
of work?
It's so funny. This always happens where it's like we were saying, I just started focusing on what works for me, like the
Yeah.
way that I launch, the way that I sell. And, it's easy for, to get lost in the sauce, but I've always just been like, no, what works for me? I love everybody in the online space, but I'm like, I lovingly don't care what you're doing, because I'm just focused on like me and my community, and like that's it. So it was
Yeah.
just coming back to that. And it's almost like instantaneous. And I know where we were messaging in Telegram where I was like, oh my God, like I get it now, like it's here. And that was the momentum. It wasn't so much, yes, of course we worked on strategy, but the momentum I created was from like coming back home to me, like how I do things, how I sell. It didn't have to look like her offer or this. It was just me. And one of those things for me is always like big launch events, selling an experience, just going crazy. Like that's just who I am. So I always just come back to that. And that
Yeah.
was something where it just always gets like the engines going. So it was coming back to that. And then I think another big thing I've always really been good at is I wasn't actually going after a 70K month in May. Like I wasn't focused on we have to hit this goal by the 31st because that energetically just closes you off. I'm like, what, who cares if we don't? Like if we do, great. If we don't, cool. I'm just here for the ride. So I wasn't even setting the goal of this month needs to be this much. I was just having so much fun. I was just in my own lane being like, woohoo, like we're here for the ride.
Yeah.
But as a byproduct, it just opened the doors for everything to come in because I was just so detached. Like I didn't write down this month we're gonna make $70,000. Like I was just like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember that. I remember you messaging me like, "Oh, we just had a 70K month." And I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
Where did this come from?" But where it came from is your zone of genius. And it's funny because that's something that we talked about in Costa Rica when you were here, and then you being in your own lane, you doing what you want to do. And I remember it was like the last day or second to last day of May, you're like, I'm not even going to count the numbers. I'm just going to go full ham. Like, who cares what happens? Yeah. And then, of course, you have 70K and you're going to do 100K and keep growing beyond that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's was the thing is I think it was, the second last day. And I was like, oh, I think we were like 66 or something like that. And I was like, I was just so in love with like what I was doing. And I think that's something that it's always something I bring myself back to was like, go back to your lane, go back to your roots of like how I do things. And that's also what makes you so magnetic in the online space is it's not how I sell on Instagram stories. It's because I've taken the strategy, but then made it my own.
Yes.
I've taken, here's the strategy of launching, but I've made it my own. And that's, I know it sounds so like the secret sauce is really you. Like you're the best strategy. You're everything. So it's just always going back to like, how can I be more me in my content, in my voice? What do I want to say? And it was like, I just didn't care in the sense of like, I was just like, whatever, here we go.
Well, what would you say from this time last year to when we met in Costa Rica was the big differentiator? And then from when we met in Costa Rica now, what was it? What's the differentiator then?
Yeah, I feel like I've just grown like so much in like even the last year. I would say from this time last year to the end of 2023 when we were in Costa Rica, a lot of it was kind of building. Like I was going back to, okay, let's kind of make sure the product suite makes sense strategically. I was doing a lot of like laying the bricks, laying the foundations. Even though I had that, it was a little bit more of like the refinement, the building, the like, let's roll up our sleeves and do that work. And then there also was a lot of like playing in the arena of like, well, what if you do it tomorrow instead of what if you do it by the end of the year? And I remember you said that in the DM conversation we had when I first messaged you, and you were like, well, what if you do 100K next month? And I was like, oh yeah, like I was putting my goals so much farther ahead, and it was like, well, it could happen tomorrow. So it was playing in that arena a little bit more of it doesn't have to be so far away. And then from kind of the beginning of this year to where I am now, it has been a lot of like the blinders on. Like it really has just been not looking at what anybody else is doing and like play. Like just having so much fun. Like I will have dance parties in my condo, sometimes in my PJs while I'm voice noting clients. And it's just like this is supposed to be so much fun. And because I did all of that work of like the building and the refining the last half of last year, it
celebrating Courtney Tidona's $70,000 cash month part 2. So in the video before this, that's part 1. This is part 2. Let me bring her back up. Let's see if it will work. Welcome everyone. Courtney's here. Okay. Celebrating Courtney's 70K month. Accept.
Was that me or you?
So I've never seen this before. In the middle of the live, it goes, the live has ended.
Okay, yeah, I got that too, and I was like, wait, like, Bridget's like,
You're
we're
gonna
done.
you're you're gonna have a double
I
feature
love it.
on my page now. So you were saying like the differentiator between
Hmm.
Costa Rica and to now is like, okay, you're just really focused on having fun in your office or in your house, like dancing around, messaging clients.
Yeah, and then another thing too is I know I've always been all in, but I found that I was all in even more. And it
Yeah,
was like I was all in even more. And it was just making decisions faster. It was, again, that self trust. There was no, ooh, what if it does? It was just like move, move, move. And
yeah,
knowing that I create the momentum, I create the results. Like literally everything is in my control. It's never outside of me. So even when things were challenging, it was like, I can control this. Like I can shift the energies. I can be the magnet that calls these things. So it was just kind of going back to like my power. And I even have moments now where I'm like, we can literally just be a magnet and like call opportunities to us right like this. And tomorrow we're a millionaire. And it was just like, oh, so it
yeah.
was playing in that energy even more. And I think, in the past year it's been a lot of deepening of that work of just like remembering who I am. Like I can have whatever I want. There's nothing that's stopping me other than me from going after those big things, and it doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't have to be logical. And I've just made so many decisions like re-signing. I even remember I was walking Skittles and I was like, oh, by the way, I just paid you. Like,
Yeah,
and then I was like going to Portugal now. And it was like all of these things are happening, but I'm just not wavering. I just have like full trust in me, and it's just foot on the gas. Here we go.
like, you have a different level of certainty and confidence than most people. I was
Mhm.
literally on a plane and you're like, I wired you $25,000. I'm like, okay, amazing. Like, let's freaking go. Here we go, round three.
Yeah.
But like, also that's just who you're going to keep being. Like, you're going to keep growing. And we have the rest of 2024 together, which is extraordinary. Like, I can't even imagine, but I can imagine who you're going to be by the end of this year. Like, this
Yeah.
could be $1 million cash year because you just keep tapping into that. And maybe you can speak to that piece. That's something you've been so open to in our mentorship is you know, for example, we were talking about like the TikTok membership sales. I was like, you can sign on as many people as you want today. And then you were like, okay. And then you went,
And then
you
I
went
went,
and signed on so many, like 10 people in a day. And I know some people that are like 10 people in a month would be dreamy to them. So what is that about you? How do you work that way?
yeah, I think it's just that choice every single day of you can play the game of like what if it doesn't work, or you can play the game of what if it does. And it's every day I just make the choice to be on the other side.
Mm,
And like you're always so good at just expanding my vision of, well, yeah, you could do 10 in a month, but what if you do 10 in 10 minutes? And then it's like, oh yeah, and then I just go and I move into that. And
yeah.
I think moving really quick, I don't give my mind any time to like talk me out of it.
Yeah.
But it's just that decision. Like you can choose to think one thought or you can choose to think the other, and both is in your control. And I've always just played in the arena of why not? Like why not go bigger? Why not do this? And I always
Yeah.
say this, like I play this game of defying my own odds. So anytime limiting beliefs come up, which I always share with my audience, like I'm human, like we're not above feeling feelings and doubt and all of that. But
Yeah.
I really look at that as like game on. Like I see this old version of me and I'm like, okay, I see you. I'm going to
Yeah.
go prove you wrong. I'm going to go, and even if I don't hit the goal, I'm so much closer to it and I'm building that mental strength. And it's just like fitness. Like I can be the person that slows down when the run gets hard, or I can be the person that just keeps running, but that's how I get stronger. So I always love playing that game with myself of just defy your own odds.
Yes.
And that feels so fun for me, where it's like, well, what if we did do this? What would that look like? Okay, let's go do it. And then it's like, oh, we did it.
Yeah, that literally the next day you're like, so I did it. What's next? But there's something about that where you're always so positive. You're really open to
Mhm.
feedback, and you don't like entertain the BS. You're just like, yeah, you know what? I could shift out of this. Let's shift out of this. Let's go. And then you execute a move, and next thing you know, you have the Coachella of the online space. Like, it's just incredible. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's just been how I've always looked at problems. I don't believe in problems. I just believe in lessons and solutions. So if something's not going according to plan or how I want it, I don't sit in it. I'm just like, Bridget, this is what's happening. What can we do? Boom. And then I go and make the move. And it's, yeah, that's just how I've always looked at everything in life, not even just in business. It's like, oh, if I don't feel like I'm getting stronger in the gym, okay, go lift more weights.
Yes.
And that's it.
I just love you and adore you and your work and the way you're leading the Miss Ma'am movement and that entire community. Like if you work with Courtney, you are so blessed to have her as a mentor. You are just an incredible woman. So is there anything you want to else share on as we wrap up part two?
Yeah, part two of this. I think the biggest thing is, and people have probably heard this time and time again, but like the game really is you. It's not what the industry is. It's not the algorithm. Like I'm the algorithm. I'm the industry. I'm in my own lane. It doesn't matter. Like everyone says, don't do this in the industry, and I do the exact opposite and still make FU money. So it's
Yeah.
not about what the rules are, and it's reminding yourself like you didn't come here to fit in a box. You came here to fly. You came here to do it your own way. And the people that are so successful aren't paying attention to the rule. Like the rules are meant to keep you small and in the box. And I've just never been someone who follows the rules. It's find your own rules, play your own game, like be in the arena. And every day it's just choosing the bigger thought of who you are and what you can be.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. You are, and you're like 70K cash month, you're going to be doing 100K and beyond. Like
Yeah.
there's today.
Yeah.
So,
Literally another live. Come back later, guys. But
yeah,
yeah.
mark our words. We'll be back for another IG live end of June, July, whenever, it doesn't matter, and be celebrating you because that's who you've always been. Like you could go back and look at, we've done previous lives before like this, and you just keep growing. So I love you. I love being your mentor and our relationship. And
Yeah.
it's been, we got to meet in Costa Rica.
I
Well,
know. That was
all
so
the things.
fun. We just
So
dance partied and hugged.
I didn't know. I know. And I just like everybody watching this, I just really pray that you also get relationships like this with your people because this is just, it's extraordinary. So everyone go follow Courtney if you're watching this live or you're watching the replay. And Courtney, thank you for coming on
Yes,
and
thank you for having me.
congratulations on your 70K cash month.
Crazy. But it's like game's not over. Still work to do. We go
Yeah.
again.
Day one. Here we
Yay. Here we go.
are.
Yay. Thank you for having
Of
me.
course. Okay. Bye, Courtney.
Bye.